and this is Jake, and this is You Gotta Be Effing Kidding. And this week we're gonna be watching, or we did watch, Final Destination. So we get into it with like, when did you see this movie? Like, how did it come into your life?
I remember my older brother, it being like his, I guess you could say his age group. My future sister-in-law, I know she had a huge crush on Devin.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Devin Sawa. Yeah.
Devin Sawa, because that was like her age group. Because like he was Casper, and every girl was just like, oh, and so like when this came out, like it's like, oh, Devin Sawa, like he's gonna be a big thing, which he somewhat was.
He was doing a lot of stuff at the time.
But anyways, I didn't really watch this until the third one came out, and then I just watched like them in order, which kind of got me a good feel for it, but also made me like love them more, love and care about the franchise more than I feel like a lot of people do, because like I feel like at least this first one is a little more serious and could be credited for like actual scary, while the others are kind of cheap thrills but also kind of horror comedy.
So you're saying like if it was a cake, you had like 3 servings of cake immediately.
Yeah. I just kind of indulged on it.
Yeah. So
and your first time watching it?
My first time watching it, like so I wasn't really thinking about when was the first time I was watching it, and then like it kind of dawned on me while watching it, like it was like I saw this at my dad's house. I would see my dad on the weekends, and we'd watch. He had cable, and he had HBO and Showtime, and so it was one of those movie channels, and it was like 2 or 3 years after it came out. He would always highlight when new movies were coming on, and but I'd say it's like 2002, 2003 even. And this movie came out in 2000. And so we watched it at his house, and like, and it was really cool. Like we were always watching those and recording them and stuff. So I got to watch it like from TV rip, like movie channel. So there's no commercials or anything, but like as much as I wanted, like pretty much as soon as it came into my life. So that's when I first saw it, was with my dad, and we always watch movies together. So, and I remember liking it, and then I remember getting the DVDs later on, and me and my brother would watch them, and like it was on a constant rotation as at least a background movie too. So, but this is the first time I've watched it in 2 years, like with turning it on, and I'd say like 5 years, like watching it.
Yeah, and you got a double serving because you watched it with me, because I forgot to watch it.
So I watched it. I was busy. I was supposed to watch it yesterday, and I was busy all day yesterday. And then I turned it on. I tried to get a hold of Jake, and I couldn't get a hold of him. And so I turned the movie on, and I watched it. And then I tried to get a hold of Jake, couldn't get a hold of him. So I had to come over here, and we watched. Then we watched it again because Jake hadn't watched it. So, and I was fine with it to kind of keep it fresh, even though I had just watched it. But it keeps it. All the parts that you see, and he kind of separates in your brain. You puts it together for you on the second viewing, because like the first time watching it, you're just kind of taking it in again. Like even if you've seen it before, but if it's been a while.
So I want to get this started. We start the movie, and as you were talking, to tie on to that, I didn't notice how beautiful the beginning scene is, and how it kind of foreshadows and shows different things. And the first thing I notice is it shows like a little marionette skeleton.
Oh yeah, when the credits start.
When the credits start.
When the names are going,
and it's like Devin Sawa.
Yeah.
Sexy Devin Sawa.
God,
and
that's...
I don't know. I gotta throw that in there, because some of the girls are like, oh, Devin Sawa.
Right.
I have to see this movie.
He was a teen heartthrob, and even before that, like younger, like Jake was saying, he was Casper. So, like Devin Sawa has been a part of like my life and like
Yeah.
a bunch of people for
Our culture.
for forever. You know, like I until recently I forgot he was Casper.
Mm-hmm.
So Devon Sawa was like at this point in time was in all kinds of stuff, and he's in stuff now.
Yeah.
He's in Chucky.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the Fanatic. Came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, the Fanatic.
Yeah, and I love seeing him on TV, like or on movies, anything he does. Like I'm like, oh, cool. Devon Sawa wasn't good or bad. Like so, it's nice seeing that he's still doing stuff, especially after growing up with him.
Mm-hmm.
But we start off the movie with him packing to go on this flight, and this really stands out to me because at the very beginning of this movie, there's a tag on his suitcase. They're going to France, and his mom rips the tag off, and he says that he thinks it's good luck. And it bothered me immediately. Me and Jake were talking about it, and he was like, "Is she the villain of this movie?
Yeah.
Did she set all this into order?" So.
If she would have kept the tag
Yeah.
on,
Well, so
nothing would have happened.
So your kid tells you that this tag is lucky or whatever. You don't.
It gives me comfort.
You don't rip it off.
Mm-hmm.
That's I don't know. So that's the first thing that stands out to me, and then after that, we go and we get to the airport, and he's talking to the person who's getting his tickets or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, your boarding time is the same as your birthday, it's 9 something." And so you're like, well, what's that about? What's you're catching all these things.
And that's one thing this movie does, which there's all different signs that even I missed. You talked about this guy with the face painting.
Yeah, you see this guy at the very beginning, and he gives Devon Sawa's character's name's Alex, and he gives Alex his pamphlet, and he says, "Death is not the end."
Yeah.
And I feel like
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's in there for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's a fake out harbinger, kind of. We get a harbinger later on, and so.
But also, there's another little tidbit in there. He falls asleep, and his clock does this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
This little flicker where it says 1080.
Yeah, before we get to the airport, when he's still at home, his clock says 1 o'clock. He's asleep. His clock says 1 o'clock, and then it flickers in the middle of one of the zeros, and it says 180, which is the flight he's going to be on.
Yeah.
And it transitions to the airport when
when
he gets dropped off, and then we get to where she's like, "It's your same as your birthday," and stuff.
And you, as a viewer, are like, okay. There's way too many coincidences.
Yeah. And so they get their tickets, and they go over to the gate, and him and his buddy, his buddy comes up to him, this guy named Todd, and he's like, "Let's go take a shit." And he's like, why would I take a shit with you? And then he has this whole story about taking a shit on the plane, and these cute girls going in after you. And so it cuts to them taking a shit. And you hear
John Denver,
and he's like, "You died in a plane crash." And then the thing calls, and calls for the flight. So they go to get on the flight.
And that's the first time where I think he becomes self-aware. That that's a weird.
Well, and he's already doing it. The first thing you see him do is this tag is good luck.
Yeah.
So he gets on the plane. He goes back to his seat, and he's kind of hyperventilating almost. Not quite, but so he turns the air on him, and these girls come up and ask him to switch seats. They talk to his buddy Todd about switching seats, and Todd wants to sit with one of them. So the girls have one seat by Todd, one seat by Alex, and so Todd's like, "I can't, stomach thing, whatever." And then they ask Alex, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." And he goes up, and he hops in the seat next to Todd, and Todd's just like, "What's the deal, man? Now I'm gonna have to watch Stuart Little." And then the table, when Alex sits down, the table in the chair in front of him falls down, and he goes to put it up, and the thing that keeps it locked comes out, and so they take off. And we meet a couple other characters, but we'll get to them when they become more important to the story. So they go to take off, and there's like turbulence, and they're like, whoa, and then like the flight attendant's like, it's okay, it's no big deal, and then like it's bigger shake, and the lights are flashing, and like at some point the other side of the plane that Alex is sitting on like blows a hole open, and these seats get sucked out one at a time, 3 seats, and then like after the seats get sucked out, there's an explosion. You see like a splatter of blood. Like it always stands out to me. That's that blood splatter, and then the explosion, and it kind of overwhelms everyone.
And a boom box.
And the boom box. So before that happens, when the plane's like shaking, this boom box comes flying like a '90s like stereo like radio boom box, and just nails this guy in the back of the head. Yeah, that's right.
It's a good scene.
Yeah, and a lot of other stuff happens. Billy, it was Sean William Scott's character, has all this candy and it drops on the ground, and like there's a whole lot going on.
A lot of visual. And then it just like the flames just overcome Devon Sawa.
Yeah, engulfs like the whole plane. You watch it come towards Devon, like Devon's watching it.
So you're like, oh.
Yeah. And then you see him roast. Like you watch him for like 5 seconds. Like, you know, you think it would hit him and cut away. But no, it sits on him for a second, which I think is interesting. And then like that happens and you're just like, what the fuck? And then he like wakes up and he's covered in sweat and he's back in the seat where he was first at, and the girls are asking him to switch seats again. And like he's like,
oh no.
Yeah. So he hops out of the seat and he runs up to the other seat and he pulls the table thing, and the thing comes out that locks it. And like he starts freaking out and he's like, the plane's gonna explode, and the flight attendants come up and they're like, we'll remove you from this plane. And he's like, I gotta get out of here, I'll remove myself. And this guy, this guy named Carter, who's
the jerk, or the jock
jerk.
Yeah,
and him and his girlfriend sit next to each other, and he has to get out of his seat to fight.
I'm gonna punch you.
Yeah, to fight with Alex because I don't know.
He's like, quit running it for everybody.
You're ruining it for everyone. I'm gonna come fight you and also get kicked off the plane. Yeah. You know, he could just be chilling. Like
he could have just said, fine, see you later, loser.
Right. Just like, get out of here, asshole. You're ruining it. I'm going to France with my girlfriend. It's gonna be awesome. And so they're dragging them out now, and then Billy comes in because he's late getting on the plane, and like while they're dragging them out, he's behind it, so he's getting pushed out.
He's like, hey, and this is sexy Sean William Scott. I say that because he's a handsome guy.
He is a handsome guy.
During this time, he was killing it in a lot of things. Stifler.
He was just Stifler the year before.
Yeah.
So he gets pushed out. The teachers leave with them. It's a French class going on a trip to France. So and teachers leave with them. Yeah, both teachers go, and then there's this girl Clear who also gets off the plane. Ow.
You okay?
Yeah,
I heard that.
My elbow popped.
Maybe you heard that. All you ASMR people, you're like, oh.
But yes. So she gets off too, and they're still fighting in the entryway and like where the lobby is, and they keep fighting back and forth, and like Clear gets off, and then like the teachers are like, one of us has to get on that plane, and because the captain comes out and says no one gets back on the plane, and he lets one of the teachers get on, and Miss was it Luton, something like that, tells the other teacher to go ahead and go because he speaks French, and so he gets on the plane, and then Carter and Alex start fighting again. Like they're separated, then they start fighting again, and then like at some point Lawton is talking to Alex about like what happened. He's like, I saw it was so real, and Billy is watching the plane like depart, like it leaves.
It's like,
and he goes, there they go, and here we stay, and so.
Woe is me.
Yeah. And so Alex and Carter are like being held apart, and like, you know, it's kind of catching your attention, but off in the distance, it's a wide shot, and you see everyone there, and you see the plane flying, you see Billy watching it, and and then it just explodes. And then like you see it explode, and which is really cool because like you don't hear it because it's so far away, and
But
then
the
you
windows
get the
shatter.
yeah, then the windows shatter because like that's how explosions work. And then like they all go down and stuff, and then they're just like, oh my god, that plane actually blew up. So they take everyone off to get like interviewed by the FBI.
Yeah.
And we meet these two FBI agents that we see throughout the movie.
Which now that would have happened the second
Right.
he said
He would, yeah,
the
yeah.
plane's gonna
Yeah,
explode.
Alex would have been like separated immediately, taken to this room.
Because this
FBI would have
is
showed up.
you got to remember this is pre 9/11.
This is 2000. It came out in 2000, so it was shot in like 99, 98 earliest.
so very close.
But like things were completely different like at that time. So, but for this movie's sake, like this is how they did it. You know, just accept it as it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, they interview everyone. They're talking to them like, "How'd you know the plane was going to explode? You said it was going to explode, and it exploded." And then they talk to everyone. And Clear said she believed him, and you know, everyone's like, "I don't know what happened. Like that was, you know, I have no idea." And you see Todd like realize his brother was still on there. We didn't mention his brother, but Todd and his brother were on the trip, and his brother told Todd to go after Alex because they were best friends. So, you know, you see that dawn on him, and that's a pretty heavy part right there.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then, like, you know, they get all interviewed and everything, and then we see.
Then it just cuts to them going home with their parents.
Right, they go home with their parents. We meet their parents. Yeah. And so all these people are filing in, and we don't see Stifler's mom at all. This random woman comes up and hugs him, and I don't know who she is. And we see her later at the funeral with him. Where is Stifler's mom?
Yeah.
Sorry. So they all go home. Clear goes home by herself. Well, not by herself. Alex's parents take her because we found out later that her parents are both. Oh, one of them's dead. One of them's gone. So we see. Let's see. How do we get there? I had it earlier and I lost it. They take him home. You see, like Devin, like break down.
Yeah.
Like, for a second, and then. Is that when we cut to Todd?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we cut to Todd, and he's going in the bathroom.
Which is another funny thing. We watched this documentary thing talking about screen testing. Had, and some of the comments they were going through, and they were like, too many toilet scenes. Or something.
Shitting too much or something. Yeah. So he goes in the bathroom, and he goes over to the toilet, and he like you're right in front of him. Like he pulls his pants down, and like you don't see anything. Like it's like
it shows the feet and the drawers.
Yeah. It shows and so it goes behind him, and the toilet starts leaking
like a drip.
Yeah,
and it makes me think Hitchcock, which we get to their some of their last names. All the names are
Billy Hitchcock as a reference to Alfred Hitchcock, but and then they have a lot of them. One of the agents is Shrek for Max Shrek, Nosferatu, the actor who played him. So we see this, and we see like him get up and go over to the sink, and the water's like following him. And as he goes over the sink, he's just messing with stuff, and you just see this water going to him. And he goes to like shave his face, smooth, like nothing like this, not even this. Yeah, like complete, and like he nicks himself.
Yeah, this is 3 days.
Yeah, so anyway, he puts the razor down, he gets nose clippers, puts them in his nose, and we're like, oh my god, like it's gonna just jam through his face, and puts the clippers down, plugs in the radio. John Denver comes out, he unplugs it real quick, but you see like a shot, like a spark when he unplugs it real quick, and he walks away, and then the water turns to follow him, and before he walks away, actually you see a shadow kind of like pass by real quick, like nothing that looks like anything, just darkness.
So it's almost like we know we're seeing a villain right now, and the villain is just the force of death. Like,
I
all
would-
those things can kill you. Like, a shock can kill you. Water can kill you.
Yeah. Well, like if he was to be like touching water and like electric, like that's the thing right there. So he goes over to the tub behind him, and you see it behind him the whole time. You see the shower curtain up, and he moves the shower curtain, and then there's a clothesline. And Jake said he's seen these in hotels.
Yeah.
I've never seen one in person, and they hang in your bathtub, and you.
And they always freak me out because of this scene.
So he pulls all the clothes off of it, and then the water gets to him, and he slips, and he hits like the thing, the clothesline, and it wraps around his neck a couple times, and
Where it's like, oh, it has a mind of its own. It's death.
And then we see Alex doing some research, like about planes and visions and like all kinds of. You see all kinds of stuff. It pans across it. But he has this oscillating fan as well, and so he's looking at the stuff, and he sees this newspaper, and he looks at it, and it has Clear on it. And then, like, for some reason, he takes a break from his investigation.
Now it's penthouse time.
It's penthouse time.
Pulls it out.
Yeah, he pulls the penthouse, going through it, and all of a sudden an owl hits his window, and he has the penthouse, and he just chunks it at the owl, and like it cuts it up. A piece of paper comes flying at him, and like lands on his leg, and he picks it up, and it says Todd, and he's like, oh no, and he gets up and he starts leaving, and then we cut back to Todd, and he has fallen in the tub. He knocked all the soap and stuff down. There's just the bottom of the tub is just soap everywhere, and so he can't catch his footing, and he's just getting strangled. And as he's getting strangled, like you can see his eyes, like getting the blood coming up through him, and eventually, like he stops fighting and dies, and like that's how he dies. Brutal.
It is a brutal kill.
It always stands out to me as that one. And then so Alex gets there, and the coroner's there, and they're pulling him away, and he's just like, oh my, what happened? And Clear's there, and she's like, you need to get out of here. So
And doesn't the dad come out? It's your fault.
yeah, he's like, he was grieving, and like he
killed
did
himself.
this. Yeah. And so we leave that, like FBI agents are there too, and we leave that, and we go to Alex going to Clear's house, and I think they're not sleeping. That might be part of the reason I get Freddy vibes from this, because they're always awake.
Okay.
Like they might not be sleeping.
Yeah, it
doesn't say anything like that.
Now that you're saying that, I get Nightmare Before Christmas
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, because they're being investigative about this.
Yeah.
So you would think that they're not sleeping, just like in Nightmare on Elm Street, they are like, okay, we got to stay awake. So now they're going through, okay, we need to come up with a floor plan. Something's happening.
They're constantly moving in this, and so like I get the vibe that they're not sleeping. And I was telling Jake this, that the kill where he dies in the tub, like it makes me think of Nightmare on Elm Street, like the way Freddy does stuff, and like
makes it look like an accident,
right? And so like that happens in the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, where someone dies by getting strangled. And there's a bathtub part in that, so I don't know if it's a reference, but it could be. But so I always think about that, and like, but they're always up and they're always moving, and it's day, night, day, night, day, night. Like they're constantly moving. So he goes to Clear, and they talk about like if they could see Todd, if he could like get a feeling with Todd, and she's like, why don't we? And they go to the coroner, or they don't go to the coroner. They go to the morgue, and they sneak in the morgue. And as they sneak in the morgue, the coroner's there, who is Tony Todd.
Yeah.
What is his name in this movie? Bloodworth. It doesn't say his name in the movie. It says in the credits. So he never says it. He comes out, and he just creeps him out. He's not creepy. He's
Just
stoic. He's Tony Todd.
Very villainous.
Yeah. So if you know who Tony Todd is, he is Candyman. He is...
Which we already said it once earlier.
Right.
I don't know if we could say it a third time.
This is a different section. So that's who he is, and he has a very distinct voice, and he has a presence about him. And he comes out, and he's the coroner, and he's working on Todd's body. and while he's telling them like that they intervened in Death's plan and like this and that and like death will come for them like sooner rather than later.
Which makes him a glorified
He
harbinger of
is,
death.
I would say, he's the harbinger, and that other guy is like a fake out harbinger.
Yeah.
So
But I feel like
he gives them and that's what harbingers do. They give
Yeah.
you the information.
yeah, and he's very much like that, but he's not like Crazy Ralph Harbinger.
No. He's very much like
Like, these are the facts.
so
Do your homework, kids.
So, like, if you would never know this, like, he could be the villain in disguise.
Yeah.
Like, he could be that evil force. And, like, to be Candyman, like, as well.
We said it 3
I'm
times.
sorry. It's 5, actually, in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Bloody Mary.
Oh, well, that too. And then I was thinking Beetlejuice.
Both, yeah, all of them. So, anyway, you know who he is. Like we talked about this in Barbarian. You meet Bill Skarsgård and it's Pennywise, and so you're like conditioned. You're like, that's Pennywise.
Yeah. And we also see him in I think he's in some of the others. I don't know if he's in all of them, but
He comes back. I think he comes back at least in one of them. But he tells them like, if the Grim Reaper comes around, he goes, you don't even want to fuck with that Mac Daddy.
yeah, and he almost says it like maybe he
And
is
that's
the Grim
why
Reaper.
you could say that he is like, he could be the villain telling them.
Yeah, like he's the straight up face for the villain,
Right.
but everything else is the natural order of things.
But so Alex and Clear, they're like, okay, like this is weird and creepy, and we're out of here, and we never see him again.
But the cool thing about it, he's almost angel-like too. He's almost like an angel of death to them because they're like, we're sorry that we broke in. And
Oh yeah. And he goes, he said, oh, I can't remember what he said. Like no harm, no foul. And when they leave, he goes, I'll see you soon. Like
creepy.
And it could be that they're going to be in the morgue. It could be that he is like that. That's not the not mortuary. I said it. He's not the coroner at all. Like he could be like a manifestation of death.
Deity.
Like he made a form and he was like, what's scary? Don't you tell it is.
Yeah. This form.
Yeah. So yeah, they cut out after they saw Todd and like talk to him, and so they go talk about like what could be these signs. He says there's signs that death is coming, and so they're talking, and like Alex sees a bus in the reflection of this cafe they're at, and like there's no bus on the other side, so they're talking, and then Carter comes up. Like he is in his car on the
bumping
street,
9 Inch Nails.
bumping 9 Inch Nails. So they're talking. You hear him come up, and you hear 9 Inch Nails, and then you hear them talking. Like you're at the table with them talking. You can hear the 9 Inch Nails like off here, and they're not paying attention to Carter. And he drives by and he sees them. And he keeps driving, and then in front of him you see Billy riding his bike. He rides his bike everywhere.
It's the funniest thing.
And then so Carter just he just spins around, and he what's he do?
What?
What we said earlier.
Oh, he pulls a Huey Lewis.
He pulls a Huey Lewis, and comes back, and he has to yell at Alex. He has to fight him because he always does that.
Mm-hmm. It's like he sees his face. He's like, I want to punch it.
Right. He's like, I have to punch it.
I'm gonna wreck it.
So he's yelling at him, and then Miss Lut. I keep not sure how it's pronounced. Luton something, but she comes out and of the place that they're at. They got coffee. And then Billy comes up on his bike and he goes, Carter, you dick. And every time they interact, he starts it by telling Carter, he's Carter, you dick, because Carter does something mean to him every time. Mm. So he comes up, and so they're all around each other. And Terry, Carter's girlfriend's in the car with them. So they're all there. All the survivors of the plane crash are there.
And she was in an excellent movie called...
Well, so Terry starts yelling at Carter that if he's gonna waste his time fighting Alex every time he saw him, like she's not gonna deal with it. She has more to live for than this, and if he's gonna keep doing that, he can drop fucking dead. And then she just gets slammed by a bus, like off screen, like. Here she is, like in the middle of the frame, and then this bus just comes out of frame, like she's center frame, like taking up the whole thing, like and this bus just comes up and hits her. And I was telling Jake, I was like, it's so sad that she was Carter's one and only someone.
Yeah.
Because she is in Saving Silverman, which is a movie Jake and I love.
Yeah.
And so when I was watching this movie before I watched it with Jake, I was like, who is she? I know her. I know that face. Who is she? So I looked it up, and I was like, that's how I know her. Like I saw other things that I knew, but like they didn't ring with me. But then I saw what it was, and if she hadn't got hit by that bus, who knows? She might have went back to her hometown and became a nun, and met Silverman again.
Yeah.
But we saw that movie. It's Saving Silverman.
Yeah.
It's when she comes back.
Yeah.
But so she dies, and we go over to. I keep losing track right after the bus thing happens.
The bus thing happens, and then
Oh, they talk about this in the screening test thing.
Oh yeah.
Because they have a scene where Devon Sawa gets like not alcohol. What is it called? Alka-Seltzer.
Yeah, Alka-Seltzer. Yeah.
So they have this scene where they're kind of dilly-dallying, because apparently in the screener people were so like shocked by the bus thing they were distracted while the next scene played, and so they like put this scene in where they could like process it,
Yeah.
And Clear calls him, and he doesn't want to talk to her, and then his dad talks to him for a minute, and he's like, I gotta figure this stuff out before I talk to anybody. And see, how does he get to Miss Luton?
This is where he sees the broadcast.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's what happens. He's there with his dad, and this broadcast comes on of the crash. And like they're like, this is how we think the electrical work was messed up, and it started here and here and here, and then it did this, like, and it made the big explosion. And the first one comes up, and he goes, that's Todd's seat. And so he like gets some like tracing paper, and he's down on his computer upstairs, and like he makes a little graph that they did, and then he goes and he's like, I think this is like Death's design, like what Tony Todd told him. And he shows it to Clear, and Clear. Her name is Clear.
I thought it was Claire.
That was Clear.
Weird.
Yeah. Look over here. It's Clear.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So the first time I saw this movie, and like a bunch of times when I saw this movie, like I thought it was Claire too. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't until recently that I knew it was Clear.
I just found that out.
Right. But so he shows them. I think that's when he has everyone meet. Actually, no, Clear has them all meet later. So he shows Clear, and then
he's like, "Oh, it's Miss Lund."
Yeah,
Luton
Miss Lawton, Luton.
London.
But yeah, he like she's next, and he's walking down the street, and he sees like these leaves on fire, and he goes over to her house, and like so she calls the FBI agents on him, and they pick him up, and they take him, and while she does that, she makes herself some tea, and it's really weird because she gets the tea, and like she like sees her mug and like throws the tea out, like it's really awkward, really strange. And like she saw the mascot or something.
Yeah, she saw the mascot. It was like the high school. She's like, I'm moving.
Yeah, like but like her reaction is so bizarre.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, my high school.
Yeah, but like she like she doesn't drop the mug. She like throws it like when she has the mug in her hand, and all the tea's gone. So she puts vodka in it and ice, and so it goes from extremely hot to extremely cold, and her mug cracks, and she's going through her house. And like it's dripping everywhere, and then she goes over to her computer and like goes over it with the thing, and it drips on that, and then she's like doing something else, and she hears like the computer start making noise, and it just explodes, and like a shark comes out, hits her in the neck, and she backs up to the stained glass that has like a knife on it.
Yeah.
Like it's very much like
It's
an Omen.
beautiful.
It's a very nice stained glass. There's a lot of nice stained glass in this movie for some reason. I guess they
I
just
love
had
stained glass.
access to a stained glass guy.
I know a guy.
Right. So like she pulls the piece out, and then she's just gushing blood, and
Which you shouldn't do.
Right? No, don't do that. And she goes into the kitchen, and the computer's on fire, and then the fire follows the vodka trail to the kitchen, and it's like right behind her, and what happens? So she goes.
She slips, right?
How does she fall down?
She falls on the ground and
Right.
somehow, and then she grabs the. She's like trying to get a towel. I don't know why. Other than maybe.
I think to put pressure, yeah.
Get pressure on
somehow she gets
her
on the
neck.
ground. I don't remember how she gets on the ground, but there's a towel on this knife thing. She put it on it earlier before she did the tea thing, which was like you've seen it coming a mile away.
Yeah.
You know, that's the first.
Well, and then you see the knife behind her. It's like, okay, yeah, this is a
so
foreshadow.
she pulls the towel with like two fingers to like put, and then like the thing falls and just stabs her.
Mm-hmm.
And then as that happens, Alex runs into the house. And runs over to her.
He grabs the knife.
And then his evil hand grabs the knife, so it blames him for the murders.
Idle Hands came out. Didn't it come out a year before?
Year before, yeah.
Which is another good movie we might go into. Yeah.
Okay, that's enough of that. We'll go into it when we get to that movie. So he doesn't have an evil hand in this. It just makes me laugh to think that like his evil hand is still there. So anyway, and he drops the knife because he's an idiot, and he runs out of the house. And who do you see riding their bike? It's Billy. And he goes, "Hey Alex, what's going on?" And then the house explodes behind him.
Yeah. And you would think he would be like, "Oh, this is suspicious," but he's not.
Yeah.
He's a total. Sean William Scott is so different in this than he is as Stifler.
Right.
He's just very
This is
much
like
like a dork.
Right.
Like,
Hey, Alex,
hey
what's going
guys,
on?" Yeah.
what's up?
So he tells the cops that we don't see it, they talk about it, but he tells the FBI agents that he saw Alex leave the house that blew up. And they said that the explosion caramelized the blood footprint that he left, and they found his fingerprints on the knife. And so Alex is hiding out. And then Clear gets everyone to meet at the memorial statue, which I don't think we got into.
No, we skipped that part.
Yeah, there's a memorial statue. It's an eagle. It's weird.
Yeah. We don't know if American Airlines gave it to him. They're like, "We're sorry the plane blew up, but here's the statue."
Here's a statue. Fly with us again, please. Full price. Anyway, so they meet at the statue, and Carter goes up with his little pocket knife, and it's like marble, and he's gonna carve Terry's name into it. He's like, "It belongs there," or whatever, and he tries for like 2 seconds,
And then gives
yeah, and then so Clear. So when they come up,
he runs into Billy again.
is coming up on his bike, and he like comes up on his car and he honks at him.
Oh my god!
And he goes, "Carter, you dick!" again. And then they're all in Carter's car and they're going, and like Clear's like, "This is where Billy would be," and or Billy, this is where Alex would be. Like, "I'll meet you guys like down the road. We'll split up. Like, I'll go here and you guys come back." And then she walks off, and like 2 seconds later, he's right there. Like, she immediately finds him, and she has this whole tragic backstory, which gives me Gremlin vibes.
Okay.
So, and she's like, "My dad was killed like at a gas station just buying cigarettes." And
Yeah,
then
that's right. Because she just
she has this tragic backstory,
She
like
has-
out of nowhere.
it's just like, let me drop this drama on you. It's like,
Yeah, so she tells him the backstory about her dad getting shot, and then her mom meeting this new guy, and the guy didn't want to have kids, so she didn't want to have kids, so like she pieced out. And so Clear's by herself, basically. So, and then this kind of goes into a deleted part of this where they like apparently they have a love scene here. So,
But they said it was too much.
but and what stood out to me was not this part, but later because she ends up like something will happen to Alex and she'll call him babe.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what? This came out of nowhere. And then now that I know about this deleted plot, it makes more sense.
Yeah, because their whole connection throughout the whole movie, it's like they don't have enough time to fully develop anything.
And at one point earlier, she says that they never talked before the plane exploding. And so they didn't really know each other. And like, so for this plot to happen, like it's not a big deal. It's a movie that happens. So they cut that part out, and then so they have their little conversation, and it just cuts to them in the car with Billy and Carter, and they're going, and Carter and Billy are like, "Who's next?" Billy's like, "Do I get to see the Jets win the Super Bowl?" and yeah, they're just. And all of a sudden, Carter is just like, if it doesn't matter, fuck it. And he just like floors it, and he's going through red lights, and he keeps going. They're like, stop, Carter, stop. And like they get out of town, and he's still going, and then he stops on train tracks. And as the track things are coming down, it's dinging and it's coming down, and he stopped. Which like, and they're all in the car with him, and the train starts coming, obviously.
And this is the first time we see Death kind of take a break.
Yeah, sorta.
Because it's like, it could have already taken them out, but since they were in the car, like, they were kind of a safety net.
Yeah, they could have, like, it didn't have to worry about it's like, you're next. Like, it could have taken them all out at once.
Or,
good enough.
Or while he was trying to etch her name in, the statue falls on
I wish. That'd be awesome. Caw-caw! Makes that noise for some reason. So anyway, that'd be amazing. He's like, this stupid bird. He's like knocking away at the legs. And it just falls on him.
Yeah, the bird becomes alive just for a little bit.
Eats him. So
makes it look like an accident.
Just like Freddy. Freddy's taking notes.
Yeah. He's like, oh, eagle?
That's a good wood. So he's on the train track. And they're like, you gotta get out. And I feel like this part is really like intense.
It is.
Like they're stuck in the car. They're not. It takes Billy a second to get out of his door.
Because he's just shocked.
Yeah, he's just shocked. So like, but for a minute, like with the both parts of the guards being down and stuff, like just the visual of it, I really enjoy. So Billy opens his door, he gets out. And then Clear and Alex get out, and they go outside the track, and they're like, Carter, come on, Carter. And like he finally is just like, it's not my time. And he goes to start his car, and it's not starting. And he goes to open his door, it's not opening.
And this is where Death is.
Yeah, and like he can't get his seatbelt off, like nothing. And so he's freaking out. And then Alex goes over and he helps, like. He has a vision earlier where his seatbelt's broken, so he's pulling, and like he pulls him out. The train hits his car, destroys it, and like Billy starts freaking out, and he's like, "You're dead, you're next. Like I'm not gonna be around you because like you're gonna die, and I'm not gonna die because you're next." And like as he's doing this, there's a piece of shrapnel from the car underneath the tracks. And the train's just going and going and going. And then there's a train cart that comes and it has like this chain and it hits the shrapnel and it comes flying out. And Billy turns around because he hears the noise, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, and like it just decapitates him like at the mouth up.
Yeah.
And so.
Which the audience can see it a mile away.
Right. Yeah, you see it. You see him standing there. You see the metal like shaking. So. But like it's such a cool decapitation. Like the top of his head falls on the ground, and the train goes by, and like his body falls like to his knees and then falls, and then the guards come up, and this is when Alex is like, if I intervene, like it could skip us, and like I just intervened with you, and then it jumped to Billy, so like what are we gonna do? Blah blah blah. And then Chandler's like, why don't you guys get the fuck out of here?
Yeah.
And they run off. And so they're taking Devin to Alex to a cabin, Clear's cabin.
Because he's like, I'm next.
Yeah, he's next, and according to his little chart. And he's in this cabin, and he is duct taping everything, and like putting corks on nails, and he puts his gloves on to eat like cat food, and like I don't know why cat food's gonna save your life, but whatever. And then like the wind blows and these fishing rods fall, and he's like, I got you, Death. Like you can't get me. I'm ready for you. And then the cabin burns down. No, I'm kidding. It doesn't. But like it could have.
I mean, and that's what I told him. I was like, if Death wanted to kill him now, like they would make the roof drop.
Right. Yeah,
roof drop.
It would just
Done.
collapse, you know? And like, so he's like kind of looking around, like doing whatever. He has a newspaper, and the newspaper says like, there's going to be like a benefit for the family of this girl, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it says, but he sees the two girls that tried to ask him for his seat.
And then he remembers.
Yeah, and he remembers.
And then it's like,
but he goes, I never switched seats, but as far as I'm concerned, he basically did.
Yeah.
Even though he's freaking out. So anyway, so he's just like, so it wasn't me next because I'm in the back. It's Clear next. And then you see all this shit happen and like lights flickering and stuff. And Clear's at her house, and like, I think the power goes out, and like she gets a candle and she like looks outside the window. The candle's not important. And she sees like this power line zapping by her dog, and so she has to go out and save her dog, you know. And as she's out there, like this clothesline thing that has like an umbrella clothesline. I can't remember what those things are called, but anyway, it falls and like stabs into the ground right next to her, and then it goes into her pool. And like on the side of her pool, it cuts it open, and like the water comes rushing out. She gets her dog out, and he runs it off, but that power line's still hitting, and the water's everywhere. So she goes up and she starts climbing this flower ladder thing. I can't remember what those things are called. You know, she pulls a Dawson's Creek and she climbs up that.
Well, he pulls a Dawson's Creek because he is taking a canoe.
Right. So
because he's at, I guess their cabin is close to her house, so he's taking a canoe there.
So the cops come to the cabin because I think Claire does tell them where he is.
Yeah,
or something.
eventually.
And or they figure, I don't know. It doesn't really show that happening. So he's outside the cabin. The cops pull up. He gets in the canoe and he's going across the creek. And you can see Dawson in the background crying. You can't. We made a lot of jokes watching this movie, and that was one of them. So as she's climbing up the flower climb ladder, I can't remember what those things are called, but you see the power line going back and forth, like trying to hit her. And she finally gets up on the second story, and she gets to her window, and she breaks the window, gets in. And she gets in, and the power line hits like the power source to the house. And there's a TV right by the window, and it explodes. And then like all the lights are exploding as she's going through the house, just right where she is, just poof, 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 poof. And so she gets down to her garage, gets in her car, and she's hitting the garage button, and there's no power. It's not working. So she just floors it in reverse. Excuse me. She floors it in reverse, and she is in the car, and the power line hits her car, and I think it like shortens out the battery or something. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. But like, it doesn't really matter. Excuse me. It doesn't matter. Like, if Death can stop these things, like sure, doesn't matter how he does it. You know, that car wouldn't start on the train tracks earlier. Like, if he can alter stuff, sure. So, Devin comes up and. He's like, you're safe in the car, just don't touch anything, you're grounded by the tires. And so somehow like a tank gets like knocked over and like flies under the car, and some liquids gets underneath it, some flammable stuff, and then the car gets caught on fire. And Devin's like, I can make it skip you, just let you know what to do. And he goes and he knocks the cord off, and then like he grabs it because it comes back, but he knocks it out with a shovel, and then the shovel gets thrown, and he grabs it, and it sends it flying back, and it skips Clear, and it goes to him, But like Clear thinks he's dead, and like goes over to him, and it turns out he's not dead. And then we see like this long like tunnel with a bright light at the end of it, and you're like, oh, he's dead. Like, and that's how I looked at it. What'd you think when that happened? It's when they're getting on off the plane.
Oh, I was.
So at the begin, right before it shows them getting off the plane, it says 6 months later. It's like a terminal, and there's a bright light at the end of it.
I knew that like he. I guess I thought he survived because it like death wasn't looking for him.
I knew he survived, but like watching it, I'm just like, oh, this is setting up like he didn't survive.
Oh, okay.
So like,
well, and then in the deleted scenes, like they made it like a different ending where it did kill him.
In the deleted scenes he dies, and tested audience didn't like that. Mm-hmm. And watching the deleted scenes, this is a way better choice. So you see this terminal, and like, and I'm assuming like the way it's supposed to look is like we're using this terminal because that's what we used in this movie to simulate the long tunnel with the light at the end. But then it shows them getting off a plane, and it shows 6 months later, and you see Carter and you see Clear, and they're talking, and then Alex comes in the frame, and he's alive, and they're in France. And like they're at a cafe, and they're like, I can't believe like we're here. Like I can't believe it's us. Because,
finally made it.
Yeah, 6 months ago I wouldn't be seen dead with you guys or whatever. And then Alex pulls out his thing, and he's like, but like if it skipped you and like came like why are we still good? And then Carter's like, you're probably right. You're probably still next. Like he's giving them shit. And then he starts seeing visions. He starts seeing stuff around him. And he's like, I gotta go. And he goes to walk in the street, and Claire calls for him, and the bus almost hits him. And it like knocks the sign down, and like knocks this street light into a different sign.
So elaborate.
Yeah. And then the sign comes down, and it's gonna hit him. And then Carter tackles him. And then like the sign goes up. And he goes, I told you were next. He goes, no, it just skipped me. And he goes, well, who's next? And then you see the sign come down, and it gets right to Carter, and it cuts to black and credits.
Great scene, because I think they said the testing audience were like, we want to see the jerk die.
Right. So after Carter tells him to get the fuck out of here, he just disappears from the movie up until that point. Like he's just gone. So and like he doesn't necessarily need to come back. Like. And in the deleted scene, he does come back. They are the only survivors, and they didn't like to see Alex die. The test audience didn't. And watching the deleted scenes and that ending is so boring and so long.
Oh, it is. And it's supposed to be a happy ending, but it's like, I don't want that.
Right. And I think to get Carter to die, like, it's a good move,
Yeah, well, and then it also puts you in the headspace like, okay, the movie's over. It's going to kill them both, but we don't have to see that.
Yeah.
Because you're content with, okay.
Well, you could see, like, they could go back and forth forever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, save each other forever. They could, but, like, I'm not going to watch a movie with that.
No, that'd be terrible.
But, so, and, like, you get more answers in the second movie. But, like, we're not going to get into that until we talk about the second movie, because it will come up. So, this is a way better ending scene. All the deleted scenes, like, I'm fine with them getting cut out. Sometimes I watch a movie, I'm like, that deleted scene's so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And, I don't care if the movie's 20 minutes longer. I wish it was in there. And usually it's with movies I love already. So, like, give me 20 more minutes. I'm fine with that. So with this movie, like, ending the way it does, it ends on a high. Like, it ends on a... And I think you hear it, the noise of it hitting him as it's black. So that's cool. Other than Nine Inch Nails, and none of the music really stands out to me.
No.
Like, I don't
John
know. John Denver, yeah, but, like, I don't know. That doesn't really... Like, it stands out because it's played before someone dies.
But the later ones, like especially 3, we'll get into that. It's got a lot of songs that are haunting.
But, yeah. And then that guy starts playing John Denver before everything happens. That's the first thing that Devin catches.
You kind of hear it too. This this French guy's playing on the guitar, and
Excuse me.
you kind of can't make it out at 1st. So like watching it for the first time, you might not even notice that that's like I guess it's like a foreshadow harbinger thing. I don't know. And then you hear it, and then like you hear the hook of the John Denver song.
So like in Friday the 13th and stuff, you get the characters can't hear that. But in this movie, there's a looming sound of John Denver, like and like and the characters hear it, like it's happening diegetically.
We didn't talk about it earlier, but she didn't know the parallels. Miss Luton or whatever.
Lawton, whatever.
But she pulls out the John Denver. She's like, "Oh, Mom's favorite." Yeah. Puts it on, and you as an audience is like, "She's next."
Yeah. Know anything about this movie stand
Rocky
out
Mountain
to you?
High.
Yeah. Other than John Denver, anything stand out? Anything that we didn't tackle?
I feel like we tackled like a lot of it. I feel like this is such a good like angsty teen 90s movie.
Yeah, this is very much like your past PG-13 horror movies, like, and you're dipping into R, and I think this is a good turnaround because it's not super gory. There's gory moments, like when Billy gets his head chopped off. Like, yeah, there's blood, and like but like I think it's a good like you're not quite ready for Saw, which like is just gore everywhere. Like this is a good transition from like something.
And I also feel it's very psychological too, because it makes you kind of like, Friday the 13th, you're afraid to fall asleep. In this, you're just afraid of death.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Gosh, why did I say that?
Because I said Friday the 13th a minute ago.
Yeah.
So, we're going to rate this movie. How are we going to rate this with Scythe? We'll do Scythe.
Okay.
Because, Death, Grim Reaper.
Okay.
So, out of 10 Scythes, what would you give this?
This is like probably 9. I would say 9.
I'd give it a 6.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I rated it high because I feel like it may not get the love that it deserves. I feel like it's better than what it sort of became, because it kind of became a corny franchise.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the franchise is great, and I think it should be a little more up there, because it is our generation horror movie, because it's like our Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, I remember this one coming out. I wasn't there when Nightmare on Elm Street came out. I wasn't there when Freddy and Jason have always been around for me.
And this is its own story. Like, yes, it does have elements of other things, but it was a very new thing for the time.
But like I was saying earlier, though, until recently, I did not separate these movies, at least the first 3.
Oh, really?
Because like I'd watch them back to back too, but like they were the movies with all the deaths and stuff, and so like there is no Freddy, there is no Jason. There, like, after this one, Devon Sawa doesn't come back. Like they're following different characters every time, and so like it doesn't give you the same way of like stuff sticking as.
So why would you rate this one a 6?
It's interesting, it's fun, but like it's not on the same level of like a Barbarian or anything, and Barbarian has the wherewithal to be better than this because this movie's been around for as long as it has. But like we don't know too much about the characters. Cutting that love story out, it was a good move, but like they didn't know each other well enough to do that. Like I like these characters, but the reason I like these characters is because I like Devon Sawa. I like Sean William Scott. Like I like the people being these characters.
It's kind of like just a cheap like, oh, these are great actors.
Yeah,
this is good.
It's just happenstance that Sean William Scott's in this. It's just happenstance that Devon Sawa's in this because, like I said, he does not come back.
Yeah,
which sucks, but whatever. Because you can get a whole new group of people, and that's
what I think I liked about it is because I'm like, oh, this is like a franchise, and I kind of like I like franchises.
It's like Power Rangers.
Well, when franchises are good, I like them.
Yeah.
Like whenever they keep things fresh and they keep things new. And you're when you think of Final Destination, you're like, oh yeah, death is gonna kill people in weird ways. What way is it gonna kill this character? And you go in there like after you see this movie, you go see the other ones. Like you're like, oh, what's this one gonna be like?
Yeah,
Like if they made a new one, I'm just gonna go there just to be like, oh,
How are they
kill
going to
count.
kill people?
Like how are they gonna die?
How many people are going to die? How are they going to do it? Like, what's going to be the event that causes the startup of this? And, like, so that's, you know, that is really cool. And I do like the premonition of the plane crash and stuff. I really like the plane crash part, like, before
And I
Eddie gets
love
off.
that it goes back to that metaverse. It goes to the Scream metaverse to where it's like, you can't cheat death. These are the rules of death.
Yeah.
You have to follow the rules of death.
You know, with thinking about with the rules of death with Tony Todd, I could bump this up to a 7 just because I love Tony Todd because he showed up.
I'm talking it into him, full.
What's that? Silverman's in the background somewhere.
He might be.
He's just waiting.
Yeah.
He's at a cafe. Meets her at a porno store.
Junith.
It's a different movie. She's in a different horror movie. What is it? Doesn't matter. But yeah, so there's not too much to say about like behind the scenes stuff. They pretty much did what they wanted to. Like they reshot the ending and stuff, which, like I said, is a good move.
Great choice.
Yeah, because like I think that would have killed this movie. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool. The ending sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
I would probably only watch it once, honestly.
It's a one-time watch, you said.
Yeah, one time watch.
But overall, I enjoyed it. 6 and 7 to me is nothing to snot at. Like, I will go on Prime or whatever I'm going to be streaming something on, and I will look at ratings, and it'll be like a 5.4, and I'm like, ooh, this is right up my alley. Because those 5.4s, those 4.5s, those 6s, like I find those have like a lot of meat on their bones. Like not all the time, but like you get like a 10 or a 9 or whatever, you get like a Silence of the Lambs, and yeah, it's great. It's gonna be awesome. But like everyone knows what that is. When you find these weird gems.
Yeah, when I see 4 and 5s, I'm like, oh, this is probably a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like I go in thinking that. And then sometimes I try to have hopes for the small, because I like watching bad movies. So sometimes I have hopes for the 1s and 2s. I'm like, please just be somewhat of a hidden gem.
I've done it, or 2s.
And there's been a few, but it's like very few.
I've done it with like 2s, and I'm just like, this is a bad movie. There's a lot going on that is good.
I feel like the 2s and 1s that I do like are ones from my childhood, which is probably why it was so bad, but I just, have good memories. So.
We'll get into bad movies. I have nothing on the list right now. Actually, that kind of reminds me of thinking about what we're gonna do next.
Yes.
So Jake picked Final Destination.
I thought it should be on the list of our first season.
Yeah, that's what it was going. He said like, so we can do like a season 1, and we do this, and that. We don't know how long season 1's going to be yet, but so it's season 2. Like it might come up in season 3. We don't know. We haven't planned that far ahead. But excuse me. So I like Jake's idea of like saving sequels and stuff,
and then I like throwing in some franchises in there.
If there is a movie that part 2 is the only good one, like we'll probably skip the first one.
Like Troll 2.
Yeah, Troll 2, that's a good one. That's not
It's
my
not
pick.
a sequel.
And I think we talked about this. We're gonna go back and forth. So Jake doesn't know what I'm gonna pick. Like we're just throwing movies at each other, and then we're like, we're gonna watch them. And this is number 3, 4. Okay.
It might depend.
We'll see where we land with this one. But I think we're gonna keep rocking with Devin. What do you think about that?
Devin Sawa?
Devin Sawa, what do you think?
Oh, I think I know where you're going.
Well, I don't know, but we might see a movie with Devin in it that's like
Idle Hands.
Idle Hands, yes.
That is a good one. So our next one will be
Sorry.
Idle Hands.
Yeah, we're gonna do Idle Hands, and so Jake, you're gonna have to watch that, and I don't think it's gonna be too hard for you.
I've seen it. It's
I know you've seen
great.
it. Yeah, so that's it from Anthony and Jake, and you gotta be effing kidding, and we'll see you next time when we watch Idle Hands.